Wow. Good to see you. Okay. May as well. All right, here we go. Everybody, thank you for coming. This is awesome. This is great. We're going to talk about real estate development, probably primarily residential, but um, this little class is called Deal Architect. And I know a lot of you, I don't know all of you, so real quick, who the heck am I? My name is Brian Bandas. I'm an agent here at Keller. I moved here to Tennessee from Texas almost 20 years ago now to play music. I did play music. That's me. For real. But I did it. We had a band called Love and Theft, and we did the thing. It was fun. After I left that band, I was broke. New wife, new baby, new house, broke, terrified. So I started calling around Craigslist, trying to find like seller finance deals, trying to create some income for my family and figure out how I was going to take care of them. I eventually joined my wife's best friend's husband, Alex Helton, as an agent on his team, one of the first ones. I think second only to that man right there, Kellen Moore. And then sort of became his lead agent. Worked with Alex and the Helton Real Estate Group for almost 8 years and was able to continue to sort of hone my chops as an agent, my chops in terms of just understanding real estate in general, and continued to invest, buying rentals, did some flips, not always doing it well, but continuing to sort of cut my teeth. And then 3 years ago, or a little less than 3 years ago, I started developing with new construction, which was really my goal. The whole time I was working with Alex, he and I both sort of knew my passion really was around investing, and at some point I was going to leave and do that full time. So last April 1st, I just woke up and something was in the coffee, and I called Alex and I was like, I quit. That's not true. He knew for months, but April 1st of last year, I started doing this full time. This is my company. It's called Anchor Acquisitions, and so far we've done primarily residential, although we've got a mixed use in the works as well. And this is a picture of me and some of my friends when we were playing music, just for fun. It's Taylor Swift. All right, so that's who I am. Now let's get to it. I want to start by talking about mindset, and I know that's cliche. Everybody talks about mindset. I've got to share this story with you so you understand how powerful and how important and how crucial this is. So several years back, I was in the lead agent role with Alex's team, and I felt like doing that role well, and I was sort of coasting, and I wasn't moving closer to doing investment full time, which is really what I wanted. And I was in this sort of comfortable place, and I sort of recognized that, okay, I can either coast here or I got to start trying to do something. And yet I was still sort of too afraid to develop. I had just some things in my head that said, oh, you can't do that yet. You don't have the money, or you don't have the experience. That's for the big boys, whatever. So I sat on a plane and I had like 3 hours to myself, and I drew out this elaborate, immaculate, gorgeous business plan for the Brian Bandas Real Estate Group. And I was going to build what I had helped Alex build. I'm going to do my own version of that. And I'm talking thorough. Every lead source, what does our onboarding look like? What are my standards for accountability for my team members? At what intervals am I going to hire which team? Like everything. It was beautiful. So then, let me tell you about Mikey D. My friend Mike is one of, or maybe the most brilliant business person that I know personally. He owns, and this is not an exaggeration, somewhere near 30 different companies. Dude is unreal. So of course I'm like, I got to talk to Mike and run this by him and see if this is going to work. So I sit down at Cracker Barrel with Mike, and I lay my whole plan out, and basically share it all with him. I say, what do you think? And his response was, yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to work. Why are you doing that? You and I both know you want to develop. Just do everything you just did for this company that you don't actually want for the company you do want. Like, why are you adding a 5 to 10 year extra step just because you think you can't yet? And I was like, you son of a bee. Got me right there in Cracker Barrel. You freaking nailed me. And so here's the relevance of this story, and I get chills when I think about it. I had this conversation with Mike at Cracker Barrel, and I left and I worked and I went to work on my development company. And I'm talking about I walked out of Cracker Barrel, drove home, and started working on my development company, calling who I needed to call, trying to put the pieces in place, and I had my first deal going in under a week. 1 week. The only difference 1 week later from 1 week before that was in my brain. I didn't have more money. I did not have more experience. I didn't know new magical people, nothing. The only difference was my mindset. And so I share that story to tell you whether or not you want to develop real estate like I do is somewhat irrelevant. Whatever I tell you, the nuts and bolts of how to do this is far less important than you deciding that you're capable of doing it and deciding to do it or not. So that's my mindset story. I was stunned that, oh, I actually could have already done this because nothing has changed. I just decided to do it. It blew my mind. So, all right, so that's mindset. So real quick, I want to get a feel for where everybody is at. Who has done a new construction development type deal before, aside from representing the buyer on that in this room? You have? Okay, so we got a few people who have. Who is wanting to be able to do this so you can put them together and bring deals to builders and developers and represent them, as listings and sort of pile up listings? Awesome. I figured that would be the majority. And who here is wanting to potentially develop deals yourself as the investor developer? Okay, awesome. We are mostly going to live in the how to do it as an agent realm, but there's a ton of overlap, and it really only changes right at the end, and there will be some stuff in there if you're wanting to do it yourself as well. So we'll touch on all that. Do not be shy. Please answer verbally right now for like a minute and a half, and then I promise I won't make you talk again. Let's just real quick brainstorm, and this is sort of akin to like the big why. What would be 5 reasons that it would be good to know how to do this? What are 5 positive outcomes if you learn how to do this and decide to do it? Hook me up.
Create inventory.
Create inventory. Heck yeah, especially for those representing buyers. Hallelujah. What else?
You can help shape resources in the community.
I 100% agree, and I was not expecting that answer, and that's been a really cool part of my personal journey, which I don't know if that's part of the class today, but that's completely true. What else? Good things that'll happen.
You live in a neighborhood that things have gone up so much, maybe you want out.
Okay.
Net $2 million.
And sorry, say the last part again.
And net $2 million.
And what?
And net $2 million.
Oh yeah, net $2 million. Yeah, that would work well. Yeah, so you obviously have the ability to capitalize on an appreciating market in pretty powerful ways. Making money, I think we could say. 100%. Freedom with your time. One more. There's no right answer. I'm just curious, like what would be, another way to say it would be, why do you want to do this?
Well, you do things off market usually, and so you're able to scrub around all the nuttiness that's going on.
Yeah. So it definitely creates opportunity, and in my opinion, my experience, makes it easier in a really, really challenging market. Awesome. Okay. So there's lots of good reasons. Next question, and this is the last time I'll make you talk. What are 5 problems, obstacles, fears? Just give me 5 reasons that you think maybe you can't, you're not sure, whatever.
I was going to say lead time on the development.
Okay, yeah, lead time. So that would be like, I'm doing work that won't pay me for a year. Okay. Lack of experience for sure. Okay, so lack of experience with real estate in general, or specifically with new builds, or?
I would say with like working directly with developers.
With developers, okay.
I mean, I have once, but
yeah.
Obviously there's still a lot out there that I don't know. So just, I guess, second guessing yourself, and do I know enough to be able to make this happen and being successful in it?
Yeah. Okay. So lack of experience or lack of knowledge, or at least the fear that you lack the knowledge you need.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. Awesome.
Controlling the cost when you get involved in the situation with a builder.
Yeah.
And how do you overcome some of those obstacles when you see costs going up so much you didn't anticipate?
Oh yeah, that's been most of my last 2 years for sure. One or two more.
Time?
Time? Can you be more specific?
Yeah, so at least for me specifically, like my first few years in real estate, I spent a lot of time looking for deals and property, finding the right people.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of time and yet no results.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Funding.
Funding, for sure. Figured that would come up. That's a big one. Okay. So I believe that all of those will be addressed today. I do think it's interesting that for you, the positive, what I heard was time, and the fear or the negative was time. Hopefully this will help with that a little bit. So, all right. So I want to simplify it first so that you leave here feeling like there's a couple tangible, relatively simple things you can be working on. So in order to do a development deal, you need 3 items. You need a deal itself, you need a builder or a developer, and depending on whether or not you're going to develop it yourself, you need funding, you need money, as Aaron just said. So, FYI, real quick pause. If we go through this today and you want to go deeper on this, talk to me afterwards. I just today am launching a course, and I'm not going to pitch this all day to you guys. I'm just going to teach a class, but just know that it's available. It's super in-depth, 30-something videos, recorded phone calls, all kinds of stuff. So if you get to the end of this and you're like, actually, I'm kind of feeling this, talk to me. I've got a whole discount code set up for Keller and everything. So y'all let me know. And it's called Deal Architect, which brings me to the first thing. We need a deal. So the reason I call it Deal Architect is because you're learning to piece together this deal and create this opportunity where it wasn't there before. In my experience, most agents stop their learning at prospecting. They get great at prospecting, which is super important, and they don't make the jump to what I would call deal making. Prospecting starts with the client, so I'm calling around and I meet Kevin, and Kevin needs an agent, and so now I have a client, and Kevin says he wants a condo, so we go look for condos. Deal making is the reverse. It starts with identifying a deal and then go and find the client. So what happens is I run across a condo that I think, man, that's a great deal on a condo. Who do I know that? I think Kevin said something about condos. I'm going to call him, and I start with the deal and I try to find the right client for the deal. And my experience is that most agents don't start thinking that way. They stay in the, I got to find clients and then service them, which is a fine place to be. And just to be clear, because I'm in Keller Williams' office, you're never going to hear me say not to do this first model. I just want you to add the second model so you can do both. Has anybody here ever been prospecting and spoken to someone who is like, I'd probably sell for the right price, but they're not going to hire you, they're not that motivated, etc.? I mean, everyone here, if you have prospected, has had that experience, right? So another way to go about it is to go, well, they would sell for the right price. Who do I know that might buy it? So an example would be if we left here, since we're by the nations, and somebody's prospecting and you talk to somebody in the nations and they say that. They're like, I'm not in a big hurry, but if you think you've got somebody who will pay $150, I got a vacant lot, I'd take that. Well, that's not a potential client. They're not motivated. I'm probably not converting them and convincing them all of a sudden to decide to list this lot that they just told me they don't really care about. But what I might do is call Kellen and say, hey man, I think I can get you a lot in the nations for $150. If the numbers work, can I list the back end? And can I put a buyer's commission on the front end for it? And if he knows that if he buys this lot at $150 and builds a house, he's gonna make 80 grand, he's gonna be excited. And I just created a deal that wasn't there, and I didn't have a client, I had a deal, right? So that's the idea of deal making.
Brian, can you say that one more time?
Yeah.
Some folks were taking notes and you talked really fast about what Kellen would say.
Kellen might say
Slowly.
So if I call Kellen or another developer or builder and I say, hey, I think I can get you a lot in the nations. I know this, I talked to this lady or this man who have a vacant lot that they said they would let go of for $150. I got the numbers. I think $150 is a home run. And I think if you build a 2,000 square foot house, you're going to make $80,000. Can I just list the back end? Kellen or any other builder is going to be like, heck yeah, because I'm going to make $80,000. You can have commissions all day. So I started, instead of starting with a client and going out and hunting for deals for Kellen, I started with a deal and went and tried to find the right client. And if I call Kellen, he says, man, I can't do it. I'm too full. I'm just calling the next builder. So that's the
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
Hi, computer screen over here.
Andy Hunt.
So what's up, brother? So you just mentioned you brought great value with the idea of listing the property on the back end. But I think what some folks may not understand is how much this lot is actually worth, how much the build process actually costs, and how much the profit would be for a potential developer or builder to put that in place.
So we are definitely going to go over that in a minute. I'm going to look at a pro forma because that is one of the big questions. Is I don't know what to bring a builder because I don't know if it's going to cost them $250 or $400 to build this product. So we're gonna get to that in a second. That's definitely a huge question mark. All right, so that's deal making. I define a deal as any piece of property that you can buy at an amount that leaves you the opportunity to improve it in a way that allows you to make a profit or a really attractive ROI if it's something that somebody wants to hold. So that's a deal. Okay, so speaking of what Andy just said, here is the little pro forma. It's so fancy that I use when I'm trying to decide what I want to offer on a lot. Sometimes I decide not to offer at all, but usually that has to do with me seeing the gap between what I can pay and what the person's asking. They're asking 500. I think the lot's worth 150. I may not bother writing that up. But typically, I'm just trying to decide what can I offer. So, and what I want to do right now in this class that I think will be one of the most helpful things we could do is figure out how to, like, with some sort of intelligent, educated guess, fill in some of these line items so you can figure out what might somebody pay for the lot and what might they make on this deal, okay? So lot cost to me is the answer to the equation, even though it's at the top here. I should probably just put this together more intuitively, but what I'm trying to do is plug in everything else, and then when I decide what I can make in profit, it'll give me what I can pay for the lot. And I'll explain that more in a second. So if you just think of it as an equation, and we're going A plus B plus C equals D, the D on the other side of the equal sign is lot cost, or what we are willing to pay or offer for the lot, okay? And this is why they say the money's made on the buy, because I'm offering this amount because I know I'll win if they accept it. So when they accept it, I'm already excited because they took it at an amount. I already ran a pro forma, and I know that unless we go to war with China, like this is gonna go roughly this way. Okay. So number two, build cost. So this varies a lot, and what you're going to need to do is start to build relationships with builders and developers that you want to call when you find this property in the nations, right? I can give you rough guesses, but they're going to be different than whoever you happen to be calling. And in fact, what I would do if I was you guys and the goal is to bring stuff and represent people, I would keep a list of my builders and developers and the numbers that they gave me. John builds for $150 a square foot. You know, Linda builds for $135 a square foot, but it doesn't include a build fee. You know, Gary, and just so I know, here's how this person's going to look at this deal. So for me, I typically build for, let's call it 140. That has gone up so much so quickly, you guys. It was 110 two and a half years ago when I started. Okay, so the build cost is going to vary, and I want you to lean a lot of the answer to what you talked about, not having experience. You find a great relationship with a builder or developer, and you just ask them questions day in and day out. And I was very fortunate. The first builder I got with, just a nice, generous person. And he told me on the phone one day, nobody asked me more questions than you. I was like, yes, that's a win. All those questions that's how you answer it. Hey, I got a lot and I was thinking maybe we could build for 275. Am I crazy? What do you think? And then they go, well, so here's the problem. The lot's shaped like this, or no, I think you're right. And you begin to figure out, okay, this guy, my guy, Matthew, is going to look at it and he's going to run numbers at now 140 a foot, and he's going to add 20,000 for a garage, and I can figure out if I have a deal. I'm never at the pro forma going to get this number exactly right at all. It's not possible. What I am going to know is if this is a house or a lot worth buying at 110,000. And if I make 70,000 or 65 or 75, I'm fine with any of those. What I'm not okay with is running it and realizing that that says 25 and I better hope everything goes perfectly, right?
Brian, are you trying to stay within a certain margin when you estimate that build cost, like 10% or something?
Man, I wish. Like the honest answer with the way things are changing so rapidly and so dramatically right now is that I just throw a cushion on everything because I can't seem to predict it. And I'm not kidding. Every budget that I've put together over the last year, with all the additional cushion and contingency I put in, every single one has gone over. That's how fast build costs are changing. I mean, I got a quote this morning that was 4,000 higher for HVAC on 2 units than I thought. And like, I can't argue, that's the cost. So what I would do, so 2 things. Number one, that build cost per square foot, hopefully with your builder or developer, they're keeping that in mind. If I'm working with a developer and I'm not the owner and developing it myself, I want to be helpful to them, but that's a little bit on them. That's their job to go, yeah, I'm going to build something here for $325. If I'm the developer myself, then obviously I'm a little more nervous about that because it's my money at stake. So I make sure that my builder's giving me up-to-date numbers. I say, hey, does that like, what is that? We're definitely going to go over that because things are changing. And usually they say, no, that's us knowing that things are higher. And then we always throw 2.5% on top of that just because. And every single one has gone over. But we'll get to profit in a second. I have not lost money on anything. I've made good money on most of them. So we're going to get to how that works in just a second. The build fee, a lot of builders do it a lot of different ways. They charge different amounts. You can have cost plus or a flat fee. The bottom line for me is just know what it's going to be and if it's built into their build costs. And as a perfect example, I've got 2 builders right now. One, their build cost includes the build fee. It's just built in there. I don't have to add anything. Another guy, you have your build costs, and then I pay $22,500 per house for the build fee. So mainly just want you to know that that's in there and not get surprised by it and think you have a budget. And then they go, oh, by the way, it's $25,000 for us to build that too. That'll mess you up. Carrying costs, I don't want to stay on this too long. You can talk to a lender to get a good guess. For me, I usually, if I'm in the normal Nashville infill realm and I'm selling something from $450 to $600, I'm throwing, let's call it $10,000 a unit on there just to get me in the ballpark. If I've got problems where I'm going to sit on this for 4 months and figure out a rezone or something that I think is going to make it worse, then I'll add some cushion on there, maybe bump that up to 12 or 14 a unit. But as long as you're in the ballpark, the things that are going to really affect your project are the big numbers, build cost and sales price. Those are going to affect your project by tens of thousands. Your carrying cost is going to affect it by 1, 2, 3,000.
Back to that build fee.
Yeah.
Is that basically the contractor's pay? I mean,
yeah.
What he's getting paid?
Yeah. So you can also do a cost plus model where they're not charging you a fee and they're just going to say, I'm going to charge you 15% of whatever it cost me to build this house. That's a lot more common in maybe like a custom home. When you're doing, these aren't tract homes, but I'm not going in and asking them to do anything custom. Like we're building pretty similar stuff and we pay a flat fee.
Is 15% pretty accurate?
I think for a custom, anywhere in the 10 to 15 to 20%, depending on the size and the builder and all that good stuff. Yeah. I personally probably would not do cost plus on a spec home like this. But man,
if it's a flat fee, is that a typical?
Yeah, 20, 22, 25, anywhere in there. You probably see 30 somewhere. This type of project too, I mean, I know that it's easier for them. I don't call them. It's not my personal house. I'm not nitpicking the trim, right? It's just not the same level of effort as a custom home, which I've got custom home builders in my family, and that's a completely different animal, right? It's very personal. It's very emotional. It's up and down. It's a totally different thing.
Can you elaborate on like your definition of a spec home for people who may not know?
Absolutely. Great question. Spec just means speculative. So I build a house and then I put it on the market expecting someone to pay enough that I make money on it. That's what this whole model is. I'm glad you said that. As opposed to a custom home, which is, I'm rich, I call Kevin, he's a builder, and I'm like, I want to build this 4,000 square foot house on my land for my family, come build it. That's a custom. So custom is you already have a client, you're building a home for them. Spec is you build a home and then you go find a client to buy it. All right, let's get, closing costs. I won't beat this up. I lump, for the simplicity of my pro forma, and this pro forma for me is designed that I can like run one of these in 10 minutes and know if I need to buy it or move on. I try to lump the front and back end together. As we know, the buy side, I'm gonna pay more closing costs than the sell side. I try to get a reasonable guess based on the cost of the home. Again, this is gonna change your numbers by 1 or 2,000, not 25,000. So I don't fret too much about it. You guys have enough experience with that. Same with commissions. You know what you're doing. Just don't forget to put it on your pro forma. So sales price, here's what I will say, and you guys are agents, and this for me going into development was absolutely an advantage. The other thing I will say is that I was able to comp conservatively, and I have sold every single house I've ever developed so far for more than I comped, with no exceptions. So here's what I want to tell you, and this is the rule that I live by religiously. I will never make an exception to it, and I'm begging you guys, if you get into this world, to not make this mistake. Do not comp your sales price based on perceived or expected appreciation of the market. In other words, dang, if this deal would work, like I'm probably going to sell it. It's probably not 525. Like by the time this is done a year from now, I'm going to sell it for 560. That might be true, and if you can buy it at a price where 525 makes sense, then you get to have $35,000 extra. But if I buy a deal that only works if the market appreciates and then the market flattens out, which it's going to someday, I don't know when, I don't want to find out the hard way that I bought 10 houses that only worked because I thought appreciation would never end. So I'm begging you, comp it as if you're selling it today and your pro forma will work. Comp it as if you're selling it today. All right. Can't stress that enough. Profit, you get to decide. Just keep in mind, it's not just what you get to make, it's also your cushion. Something bad happens. We were digging footers one time and we found a boulder. And that sounds ridiculous, but we had to spend $4,000 to blow up some rock, to put a house in Chestnut Hill. It's going to happen. It's not if, it's when. Literally on every single project, there's something unexpected. It's going to happen, and that's fine, because if I have a $70,000 profit margin, even if we have $15,000 of problems, I'm still walking with 55 grand. So build enough profit in, not just to make money and make sure that it's worth your time and effort, but that things can go wrong and you'll still be okay. The beauty of the profit is like, there's no right answer. I know people who are fine making 30, 35, and people who would never touch something if they're not making 80 to 100. And like, neither of them is wrong. It just depends on how they value their time and how they're structuring their deals and all that. Okay, so a quick recap. Your variables that you need to get right are your build cost, your sales price, and then whatever you decide your profit is. And the solution to the equation then, once you do all that, is, okay, I can pay 110 for the lot. And what happens is, if I decide I'm okay with 60,000 in profit, then I can pay 120 for the lot. And if I decide I better make 80, then I'm only going to pay 100 for the lot. So the number that's changing is this. It's what I'm willing to pay for the lot based on what kind of money I want to make, right? I've already decided I'm going to build a 2,000 square foot house. It's going to cost me this much money to do it. I know what my builder is going to charge me. I know what my commission is going to be, or what my commission is going to cost, because all those things are now fixed. So I'm just playing with what I want to make and how much can I pay for the lot.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
Can you go back to that?
Yeah.
I'm seeing 70,000 in profit, 52,000 in cash in, and 50% profit at 35. Can you explain how those numbers add up specifically? Because the cash in portion could get a little bit twisted in that.
Yeah. So to a degree, I would say ignore those. That's unique to my lender and how I have things structured with my partners. But the way I have things structured on this particular deal is that as the developer, I'm keeping 50%, and then whoever brings the money gets 50%. So the profit is what's going, this 50% of profit is going to my partner. So we get 70 on one unit, they get 35, they get half of it. The cash in is going to vary, but for me, I take, on most of my loans, it's 10% of cost. So that's the number that's really going to vary. Depends on your lender, depends on your loan, and it also depends on how much you want to stash for carrying costs. I've started to stash a little bit more. If I'm working with partners, I don't want to call them in 6 months and like hat in hand ask them to bring more money because I was wrong. So the cash in is a lot more variable. Depends on your loan. Okay, one more quick note on making deals or identifying deals. The more you can become familiar with zoning and what you can do with land, you can find things that other people don't see. Just a case in point, the best deal that I've done to date was a little rental that I picked up in East Nashville that nobody noticed. I could build a second house on it. I got a free building pad in East Nashville. I paid retail for the rental, put renters in it, it pays for itself. I got a $125,000 building pad for free. So that worked because I recognized the zoning and other people who were not investor buyers didn't. So I made, what's that? Carolyn Avenue. Yeah. Okay. By the way, Parcel Viewer, I need to hurry, so I'm gonna skim past this. But if you don't know Parcel Viewer, here's the website, maps.nashville.gov/Parcel Viewer. And if you want to learn about zoning, a first quick, easy answer is that when you pull up a lot, on the left side, you'll see this little menu. And if you click zoning, not only does it tell you the zoning, but it describes what you can do with it. All right, and that's all I gotta move past that. But great resource that if you're not looking at this frequently, it's time. You're welcome. Other resources for learning this, builder developer. Like I told you, I called my builder every friggin' day. He's the one that really explained what I could do with different zonings, explained different easements to me, all of that. City website, other agents and investors, people like me or whoever you see around the office who you know is doing this. Hopefully they're abundance mindset and will share whatever they can. Where to find a deal? Guess the first one. The number one. No, although that's the second one. Prospecting. Prospecting, man. Told y'all I'm never going to preach not to do that.
Thank you.
MLS is the second one, and that Carolyn Avenue one that I told you was so good was on the MLS. Mailing and marketing, wholesalers do that. Other agents will have them, your sphere. Speaking of other agents, another deal I have near Belmont came from calling Eric Workman. Called him and said, dude, you got anything I would want to build? He said, actually, I might. And now we're building 4 houses near Belmont. Sphere, wholesalers. Move on. Go to the REN page if you're not familiar with it. Real estate investors in Nashville. There are 1,000 wholesalers, and a bunch of them aren't good, and a few of them are. Get on their list, and you'll get stuff in your. I probably for real get 30 or 40 properties in my email a day right now. 30 or 40 of them suck most days, but every once in a while, there's a little gem in there. Okay, so you've got a deal. What do you do with it? Quick pause. Any more questions on this first of the 3 ingredients? We good? Okay, let's rock and roll.
Kellen, you got it?
Got it, yeah, yeah.
He doesn't understand. Are you too nervous to ask?
No, I'm good.
Okay, builder or developer. So, Rich Ramsey.
Are there any quick rules of thumb what percentage you should pay for the pad of expected sales price? I mean, how do you very quickly look at something and say, this is worth spending some time looking into?
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of rules of thumb like, oh, here's a percentage. I don't really use that. My first question now usually just has to do with, oh, it's East Nashville. Can I make 190 for a pad work? Probably not. Can I make 120? Probably so. I'm going to go run a pro forma on it. So some of that just comes with familiarity. That's not that helpful. What was the rule of thumb people would always talk about? It was like you want to pay 20% of your sales price, I think it was, for the pad. That's just so variable, though. I mean, it depends on the area. I've seen that work and be a home run, and I've seen that be completely throwaway and useless. So take it with a grain of salt, but that's also why I created that pro forma, so I could run stuff real fast. I mean, basically, as long as it takes me to comp is how quickly I can run that pro forma, because all the rest of it's pretty quick. So builder or developer, if you are an agent bringing this to someone, is everybody clear on sort of the difference between the two? We're good with that? Okay. Builder builds it. The developer pays the builder to build it instead. It's labor and capital type of division, for those who are familiar with that. Which one do you need? So if you're just doing the agent thing, either one's fine. If you want to develop it yourself, then obviously you need a builder. There's money in both. I don't think there's a right or wrong way, and I have done both. I am now a builder, and I build some of mine, and I don't build all of them. Let's see. So I'm going to skip some of this. Yeah.
Sorry, just so everybody knows, you're commercially licensed to build properties, or you run a company where somebody else, I mean, when you say I'm a builder, what do you mean by that?
Almost the opposite of that. I hold the license, but I'm not doing a lot of on-site stuff. I have like superintendents that will work for me, but I have the license. So I had last year, I probably paid over $250,000 in build fees. More than that, 300 something in build fees. I can hire 2 superintendents at $100,000 each. They've got great jobs, and I get to keep $100,000 in build fees. So that is a little bit. That is a that falls under the heading of how to expand once you've got some momentum here. I don't think that you guys need to start there. That's newer for me. Okay, so finding a builder or a developer, I think there's some really easy ones. The first one is just drive around. If you see a sign in front of a job site, in particular a house that you like the way it looks, and they're keeping the job site clean, and I like the product, etc., call a number. It's either the builder or the developer. Find out who it is. You can also find them on the MLS, calling agents. Hey, who built that house? It was beautiful. Asking other agents around the office. I guarantee if you walk around this office and ask 15 people if they know of a good builder, even if it's just on the buyer side, probably everyone in this room has helped someone buy a new construction house and can tell you whether or not they liked working with that builder, right? Use your network. I use Facebook quite a bit. Again, I would send people to the RIN page, which I think is what this says. Yep.
Hey, Brian, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Let's say you're an agent and you have a lot, you think it's useful. Do you go to a builder first or a developer first? I think I might have missed that earlier when you described the difference.
So I think in that position, it doesn't matter. The only difference is that the developer is going to need to work a build fee into their numbers. So if you have something, I wasn't gonna mention this, but I think it is worth saying. If you have something where it's close to a deal and it's tight, you're gonna have better luck with a builder. I can make more deals work now building them myself with staff superintendents than I could when I had to pay $22,500 on every single unit in a build fee, right? So probably a builder makes it easier in that respect, but frankly, I would put a list together of both and just call, if you find something good, call your favorites first, call them in order.
It's kind of just whoever's interested in the bottom line, right? Of what the price of the lot is.
Absolutely. And
whoever says yes.
I've had plenty of deals that I passed on that they turned around and sold for a price that I didn't think worked. I don't know what I'm missing, but somebody out there can probably make it work if it's in the ballpark. And the more relationships you build, and I wouldn't just have a list of names and numbers. You got to build some relationships and some equity.
What's the range of what your cost
is?
It's usually stated the cost plus structure of hiring a builder is $22,500 as far as their build fee goes. So $25,000, give or take. What would be a solid range on cost per square foot to build your average home?
I think most people right now for an average infill Nashville type of build, 140 to 150, which is pretty crazy. Yeah. And when I'm doing my numbers, that doesn't include, so that's just your finished square footage. If I want to put on a great balcony or deck, covered porch, if I want to add a 2-car garage, I'm adding money for that. Usually 20, 25 for a 2-car garage. And, there were some others. Rich?
Could you quickly distinguish between what a builder is, developer is, or a general contractor?
Yeah. Builder, I would say, and general contractor typically are synonymous for me, at least the way I'm using them today. They're not always, but the developer is someone who isn't licensed to build, who is, and this was the first, I don't know, however many that I did. I was not a builder. I would buy the lot, I would call my builder and pay him to build it, and then I get to sell it for whatever profit was left over after I paid his build fee. So that's a developer. So at that point, I was only developing. Now I'm doing a little bit of both. But developer isn't building it himself. He's essentially they're equity. They're bringing the money and they're bringing the people, builders, the attorneys, whoever they need. Okay, let's keep rolling here.
Brian, can we answer a couple of questions that are on Zoom real fast? Lori's got one, and then, Lori's got one.
Okay.
Okay, so how do you handle the conversation with when you've found a lot and you don't actually have the listing agreement on the lot. And of course, the builder's first question is, what's the address of this lot? And you don't really want to, you're not, that's your currency that you have to be able to have the dialogue with them. So you don't want to tell them. So how do you handle that?
Yeah. So I think the first answer to the question is it depends on my relationship with that builder. If I've got a good relationship with them, I'm going to speak really candidly with them. I'm going to say, it's over in the Nations. I don't want to share the address yet because I don't have a listing agreement. And the main way this is profitable to me is to bring it to somebody who will let me list it. Are you comfortable if the lot makes sense? Are you comfortable with me listing the houses on the back end and me putting that in a buyer's agreement if we go ahead and buy the property? And if they say no, I'm going to say, fine, I'm going to let somebody else know about it then. I can't imagine that happening. I mean, if that really happened, I feel like that person's probably not somebody I want to be working with anyway. So I would just speak really candidly with them about, here's what I'm trying to do. I want to bring this lot to somebody who will let me list it. I'm not trying to own it. You can have all the profit. I just want a listing commission on the back end. Does that interest you? If the answer is yes, I'll say, awesome. It's over on such and such street in the Nations. That's definitely enough information for somebody to comp. And if they like it, I'm going to, and this is coming up in the slideshow, so we'll breeze past it in a second, but I'm going to explain the expectation up front that we're going to put in the buyer's agreement that I'm going to list it once you build it. And if that's cool, I'll send over the information to you and I can help you buy it. Does that answer that question decently? Does that work? Okay. Can a builder also be a developer? Yes, for sure. A lot of builders are sort of a one-man or one-woman show. So they're going to own it, buy it, they're taking out the loan, they're just building it themselves, and there's not another equity partner. Some people do both, but yes, some people wear both hats. I'm doing a lot of that right now, where I do both. All right, let's keep rolling. Justin, yeah.
Yeah, I think from your description, it sounds super easy to find a builder or developer. At least in my experience, it's been a little less easy to build relationships with people that you can actually trust and would do business with. Are there any specific questions that, like, when you're making these calls to a builder or developer, that you would recommend asking, about what do you pay your agents on the back end? What is your process? I mean, are there any specific questions that you can think of, like, to start building that relationship from zero?
Yeah, so I definitely think it is easy to find them, and it doesn't mean it's easy to find really, really great relationships. That's certainly a different thing. There's a lot of builders, just like there's a lot of agents, right? Some of them are fantastic, like you guys, and some of them aren't. And questions to ask them. I don't know that I could give you like a script similar to anybody else you're going to be doing business with. I want to feel out their character. Someone with the right character, I mean, you can tell, at least in my opinion, early on. Now, it doesn't mean it's a business relationship that makes sense, but right out of the gate, that's what I'm looking for, is just how does this person operate? How do they communicate? Are they comfortable with me being honest with them? Can they handle candid feedback? On a more sort of nuts and bolts side, I have asked builders, hey, can you just tell me like a couple things you do that you think make your builds stand out? There's a new build on every corner right now. How, if I drive by yours, what's going to make me think, oh, that's pretty cool. And I've got some really good answers, right? Where I go, oh yeah, that is actually cool. And now I'm going to do that on mine. I think there's a long list of questions you could ask, but for me, the number one thing is I want to understand this person's character. I have no interest, no matter how profitable it will be, in working with someone who it's going to be miserable to work with, or who's going to operate in a way that isn't 100% high character, integrity, etc. I don't want to run out of time, so I'm going to keep rolling if that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to summarize this because we got to hurry. This town is flooded with buyers. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. It's true when you're on the investing side too. It is not less competitive when you're buying investor lots than the retail world. It's brutal, and even if there's a lower number of people, there's also a lower number of investment style lots, and there's a higher number of people who can pay cash, and it's really intense. And so I'm telling you right now, if you find something in the Nations that truly is a deal, contract that thing like yesterday. And part of that, if you are not going to be the developer yourself, is that you already have some of these developer relationships building. You don't have to be best friends, but you have to have some sort of rapport so that I can call and say, Justin, hear me out. I know you're trying to find some infill. I've got a home run in the Nations. I can't be the only one who's seen it. If you're down, let's contract it today. We'll put 1% earnest money down, and I'm going to put a contingency in so you've got 15 days of due diligence so we don't miss anything. We got to snag this thing. It's $150 for the lot. Can you call me in a half hour and tell me if that's a deal that would work for you? And I'm going to use my skills as an agent who communicates really well and effectively and thoroughly to express to them why they need to hurry. It's a great deal, and I'm not the only one who's seen it, and we got a tight window to buy it. And then I'm going to contract it, and then I can do my due diligence and make sure I didn't screw anything up. Okay? Ultimately, lean on your brokers or your title attorneys to make sure you get the due diligence language correct. I'm not going to start telling you guys what to write in, but it's not super complicated. Any questions about builder or developer? Did you have one? Okay. So in order to effectively do this, the conversations start now, not when you find the deal. So I don't know whether or not this belongs on any of you individually on your 135 or on your calendar, but if this is a way that you want to build your business, then one of your key activities up front is starting to make some phone calls saying, hey, here's what I'm doing. I'm specifically prospecting for these types of deals. Are you looking for them? Most builders and developers, the answer is yes. That's the bottleneck is deals. They're hard to find. And if you're calling me saying you might have some, the answer is yes. I will definitely talk to you. I'll definitely take your phone call.
On the land lots TAR form, do you have it memorized which of the due diligence boxes you usually check?
No. I mean, if I'm looking at it, yes, but not without having it in front of me. Sorry. You have my phone number, though. All right. Questions about this section before we skedaddle? Awesome. Let's talk about money. I just watched that 2 nights ago, so when I was making this, I was laughing to myself. I can't help it. All right. How do we sell a deal to builders and developers? So you have this relationship, and the relationship is just such that they'll take your call, they take you seriously, they're willing to hear you out. So to me, it's simple. I've got this pro forma I just ran, and I know that Rich does his stuff for $140 a foot, and I've got comps I can share with him. I'm basically calling and saying, hey, I don't know if you have the capacity right now, but there's a lot in the Nations for $150, and I think that your net profit on that's somewhere around $75,000. Like, would you want to see that, or do you have the capacity right now? If Rich says yes, awesome. I'm going to tell him what street it's on. I'm going to send him an email with my pro forma and my comps and say what I said a second ago. We got to hurry. Can you let me know in like an hour, half hour? I'm just worried somebody else is going to buy it, and I think it's a home run. He says yes, great. It's really, here's what I want you to realize. It would be exciting to create this deal, but especially early on, it's easy to feel like you're asking this person to help you out, and you're not. Like, I just called Rich and offered him $75,000. He's not hooking me up. We have a mutually beneficial business relationship, which is awesome. But as excited as I am to do a deal, I don't have to have Rich. Because if Rich isn't into it right now, that's fine. I'm going to call Kevin. And then if Kevin's at capacity, I'm going to call Kellen until somebody says yes, because I found a deal and we're in Nashville and everyone wants one. So I say that to say, I want you to have these conversations with some confidence, knowing, as Alex Helton would say, you're walking around offering people gold bars. Do you want a gold bar or not? Right? So you're basically calling and saying, hey, I've done this preliminary research, and unless I'm missing something, you're going to make somewhere around $75,000. Do you want to see it? They say yes, awesome. We contract it, and then we do due diligence, and we make sure I haven't missed anything. Does that make sense? Money's on the buy, and that's why this all goes to, I'm trying to help these people get a lot that's hard to find for a price where they can actually make money. And the challenge is that right now everybody thinks that their real estate is worth way more than it is because their uncle's telling them how much it's worth. And it's, believe it or not, even with prices where they are, it's hard to buy something cheap enough that there's a deal. So when I have one, I'm walking around with a gold bar. Who wants it? Oh, the lawnmower. We don't have time. Let's get the lawnmower example. Yeah, okay, here's the lawnmower example. I tell my kids this. If you walk down the street This is where the money's made on the buy, on the agreement up front. If you walk down the street and Mr. Smith says, yeah, I'll pay you $1,000 to mow my lawn, you're already excited because you're definitely going to mow the lawn. You just got him to agree to that. So buying on the front end, that's the win. For me, when I buy a lot, I'm already excited because I already know my pro forma. And I got them to sell me the lot for $120, and I'm going to make $80,000. And I am going to build the house. I know that part's going to happen. That's the lawn mowing example. All right, present the numbers. I'm going to skip some of this because we've been going over it. Set the expectation. We've talked about it, but make sure you set the expectation that you are going to put it in writing, that if you bring them this lot and help them buy it, you get to sell the listing. We're going to put it in writing. And again, let your brokers and your attorneys help you knock that out of the park. I would also add that if the numbers are tight, screw the buyer's commission. Get the back end. I have, just so you know, I put my money where my mouth is. I have twice helped a builder friend of mine buy these lots for free because I'm going to sell numerous townhouses on the end. And I'd rather, get 3% on $2.5 million of townhouses and miss 3% on the $200,000 lot.
We do have an online question.
Yes.
From Lori. It says, so do you go out to multiple prospects at the same time or wait for their answer and then go to the next builder developer?
Okay, so my answer is difficult because I don't take these to anybody. I do them all myself now. So I'm just imagining if I'm in that situation, I would probably, it depends on my relationships. I think that's the answer. If I have one really strong relationship and I'm continually doing business with this person, I'm calling them first. Otherwise, this is maybe a little bit harsh, but I don't feel like I owe anything to these people. I would probably be honest and say, Jack, just so you know, I'm sending this to 4 different builders I work with. You're one of them. Sort of first come, first serve, but I think it'd be a home run for you. Let me know. And, candidly, whoever calls me back first and says they take it, I'm going to give it to them.
I was going to say, it almost creates leverage on your next deal.
For sure. It creates scarcity, creates some urgency. So I wouldn't do it in a shady way. Treat people the way you want to be treated. But I don't.
Question, if you brought up a few instances where there wasn't money there on the buying side, so you waived it. If there is money there, you generally find that, do you generally find that the seller is willing to pay on there, or do you have to tack that on as sort of a finder's fee on the buy side to the builder?
Oh, yeah, it just depends on the seller. Yeah, so I definitely have done a deal or two. This is not that common, but maybe once or twice where the seller, like, they're not interested, they're not planning on paying this. And if there's enough meat on the bone and I still feel like my builder or developer friend is going to win, I might say, hey, I'd like to list the back end and I'd like to throw 3% on the front. I mean, I've been prospecting for this. And if it's a win for them, I mean, not to be a jerk, but I hold the cards. I went out and found the deal. So I'm basically saying, here's what I'm offering to you. I have this lot. I want a 3% buyer's commission. I want to list your listings and you're going to make X amount of dollars. Yes or no? So you can, but I think it's important. I mean, it's a client relationship. I want it to be a win for that person. So I wouldn't push it unless I felt like they're winning anyway.
Do you ever put that buyer's commission on the back end so they have more money for the bill up front?
Haven't you done that?
Yeah, I'm asking for the group.
For
the less experienced.
Yeah, I have not, but I remember when you did that, and I thought that was a great idea. That's creative deal structure.
What was that?
I don't even know exactly how you did it.
They don't have enough. Hand me the microphone. If they don't have enough money to pay you a commission on the front end, you can put in your buyer's rep that will be owed when you sell the property, so they have more money to use to build, and they're going to have plenty of money to pay you back on the back end.
There you go.
On top of your listing commission.
Yeah, there you go. Creative deal structure. Okay, so real quick on the money, if you're just bringing it to other builders, developers, it's not your problem. But for those of you who do want to invest yourselves or develop yourselves, here's just a little bonus. If you're wanting to be the owner of the developer, you can get a construction loan. But Brian, I don't have the down payment. I can't qualify. I don't make enough money. You can use a partner, down payment funds. You can use a partner to co-sign the loan with you. I can't even do that. My personal finances are such a mess that they won't even let me co-sign. Fine. You can have a partner guarantee the loans without you. And just so you know, that's a thing. I have multiple deals right now where I am not a personal guarantor on the loan. I brought 0 of my own dollars, and I will make 50% equity because I'm the one who went out and put a deal together. And you can raise a fund. For me, the first 40 or so that I've done project by project, and moving forward, I'm about to do a general fund. So a lot of options that do not require that you just have stacks of cash. How are we doing on time? Do we need to stop hard at 1:30?
No, I had you down to 2.
Oh, okay. Oh man, I've been hurrying up here.
I was wondering why you were rushing, but I thought you were saving time for questions.
This one?
Maybe.
This one? This?
When you say project by project partnerships, is that you need LLCs in place for that, or is that just a general agreement?
Partners. I do. My attorney, I should be super clear. I am not one. I'm not even close to one. But my attorney sets up a general partnership on each deal for me. So if you and I go out and we do a deal, we'll set up Brian and Aaron Tennessee partnership, and then the next one, Brian and Kevin Tennessee partnership. My half or my membership in the partnership is usually my LLC, the same LLC over and over again.
And then the general fund, that's just getting investors. Are they guaranteed a certain percentage based on the fund setup?
Yeah, so the difference is partnership, or like project by project. If you and I go out and we do this project on Main Street, and I've got 20 projects and 19 of them kill, and for some reason I kind of blew it on that one. Doesn't matter how my other 19 did, you're SOL because that's your project. And so the general fund is going to be structured to where everybody buys in, and I say raising $1.5 million, and the return is going to be 15%, period. And the risk is spread out. Candidly, as the developer, I'm paying less for the money, but I'm also minimizing my investors' risks. So it's a little bit lower risk and lower reward for my investor partners because they're not beholden to the performance of any single deal. In that case, I got 20 deals, 19 do well, and 1 craps out. Nobody cares. They all got 15% regardless. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. How do you attract money? Be an attractive, not physically, be an attractive business person in your character, your work ethic, your expertise, your personalities. What we talked about a lot when I was on the Hilton Group was that people want to like and trust you. They want both. I don't only want a really great agent who's a jerk, and I don't really want a super nice person who sucks at real estate. I want both of those. I want to like this person and trust them. So it seems ridiculous to say, but I have seen the evidence in my own life. I'm thankful to say that the more I displayed the kind of person I was and hoped to be, the more people bought into me personally. And I can tell you right now that my first investors in particular, they knew that I had no experience. They knew outright, this is my first development deal. Here's what I'm trying to do. Are you willing to risk $40,000 on me? And they did. And it did not have to do with me being a great developer because I wasn't one. It had to do with what they knew of my character and who they believed me to be. So the number one way you attract money is that you invest in becoming the kind of person that you would want to do business with. There's no substitute for that. In addition, helps to bring an attractive ROI. What I would add to this is having an understanding of what is available to people in the marketplace in terms of their investments really helps. I know that the type of ROI that someone can come get on a real estate deal with me is outstanding in the marketplace. I have the context to know that when I call them and I say, you're going to make between 25 and 35% on your money, most people, unless they're doing this themselves, are going to pee their pants because that's insane. You're not going to get that from your financial manager or anything. It's hard to find. So bring an attractive ROI, bring a good product. And to me, the product, there's a lot more to it as you get into it. I mean, part of the product is how well do you communicate? Like your product is their experience working with you, right? But just starting with an ROI, it makes it really easy. You call somebody who's got a bunch of money and they're trying to figure out how to make it grow. It's a great, number one, congrats to them for having that problem. Number two, it's a great solution. If you call somebody who's trying to figure out how to make $250,000 work hard, and you say, I can get you 30% on that. Man, they're excited to work with you. Communicate clearly, confidently, and directly. And so going back to these guys that decided to invest with me when I was brand new, I sat them down and I said, guys, I appreciate this. I just need you to know I'm brand new and we're talking about doing a bunch of deals together. And the more deals we do together, I guarantee you I'm going to mess one up and we're going to have to go to the closing table one day and pay money to close. Not all of them, most of them are going to go well, but just know that like that's coming because I'm still learning. And if you guys are cool with that, then we can rock and roll. And these guys love me for that because I'm communicating clearly and honestly with them. And that's scary because the thought is, well, if I tell them the truth, they're going to decide not to invest with me. But that's not what happened. In fact, the opposite happened. They're more bought into me than ever because they want to work with somebody who's going to communicate that way with them. Lastly, don't cling to the outcome. So this is commission breath, right? I don't call a single person desperately needing them to say yes to me. That doesn't work. It's off-putting. And the beauty is that you start to realize this is where the gold bar mindset comes in. I've got a phenomenal ROI to offer people. I don't need any single one person because I know that this product is awesome and somebody's going to want it. And if I call Rich and like today's not the right day, that's okay. Doesn't mean he thinks I'm stupid, and it also doesn't mean that I'm not going to find somebody. And so when you cling loosely to the outcome, then you're in a mindset of curiosity. And what I'm really wanting to know is, does this sound like a good fit for you and your family right now, Rich? Is the timing good? And the answer is yes or no. And the question is not, do you like me, or do you trust me, or do you think I'm smart? The question is just, is this a good fit for you right now? And I'm in a place of curiosity. And if he says no, I'm not devastated. I just call the next guy. I call Tom. I'm like, 30% ROI? And Tom's like, yeah. And there we go.
Let's do it. Let's go.
All right. Bonus. This sounds corny, my 3-step process for finding investors, but just hear me out. I didn't develop this as a 3-step process. This is just what I was doing. And then I realized, oh, there's 3 steps to this. Step 1 is what I call the feeler call. And without going into a ton of detail or running the whole script, it's basically, hey, Kevin, I don't know if you know, I've been developing real estate. Here's sort of the gist of what I'm doing. And I know you kind of like real estate. Would you have interest in this? Do you want me to call you when I have another deal? That's all. Yes or no. Easy. I'm not asking for anything. I don't even have a deal yet as far as he knows. I just want to know, should I call you later? If he says yes, then I go to the next one, which is I say, okay, great. Let's sit down or do a Zoom and let me just like tell you in a little more detail so you really know what I'm doing and what your responsibilities would be, et cetera. And then you can tell me, yeah, let's do it, or actually it's not what I thought. I will tell you that I don't know that I've ever done the second step with someone who didn't decide to invest with me. Like if they say yes to the first one and they go to this one and you've got a decent product, the answer is yes. Then the third one is the pitch call, and that's when I go, Kevin, we did Zoom 2 weeks ago, and I told you I was trying to find something, and I got it. Here's the gist. Do you want me to send over the numbers in an email? The other thing I would add here is put a time limit on it. So if I was talking to Kevin about that, I would say, would you mind letting me know by like the end of the day Friday, just in case if it's not the right fit for you guys, no worries. I got to call somebody else to put the deal together. That is true, and it also causes them to realize like somebody's going to get this deal. And if you don't get it, my feelings aren't hurt, but I'm going to call somebody else who is going to get it. All right, that's money. Questions about the money section. For those of you who just want to bring stuff to developers and builders, this isn't as big a deal. Hopefully they are taking care of that on their end.
Do you employ hard money lending at all?
I do not. I have before. I've done it on, I did it on some flips. I don't prefer to because it's really expensive money. I would do it for a transaction if I just needed to lock up a lot real quick and then flip it, after a month or two to a construction loan, maybe. But that's a big line item. I mean, I would have to go in and put on my pro forma this several $1,000 adjustment for the cost of transactional hard money, which again is fine. It's just a line item. And if I put it in there and I get the lot for the right price and I'm going to make 80 grand, then that's still fine. But it's really expensive money. And so I don't have a problem with it. I just haven't needed to in the last couple years.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Jane.
This is so nice seeing you here.
It's so nice to see you too.
So if I wanted to, or client wanted to get set up to be an investor, okay, do they need to go ahead and set up an LLC and then meet with a banker so that they have a line of, essentially a line of credit, and they don't have to use hard money?
Yeah, so they don't have to have an LLC to my knowledge. And again, talk to an attorney, but I say that because I have investor partners who are in the investment as themselves. So it's not a requirement to do that. I do think that talking to the lender early is great. And so part of my process is if I have that conversation with Kevin and we do the Zoom meeting and I say, here's what it looks like, and we get to the end and he's like, this is awesome. Yes, call me with the next deal. I don't wait till the next deal. I say the next step is perfect. I'm going to send you an email and I'm going to connect you with my lender because he needs to get your personal financial statement, your taxes. And that way, when we do get something, and you usually do have to close quickly, the lender isn't gathering up Kevin's stuff and qualifying, and Kevin's trying to track down his tax returns that he thought he had. And that's all done. Lender already has his stuff. And I go, my buddy Cole usually does this. I go, Cole, we got 3 weeks. Can we get a lot loan on this in 3 weeks? Yeah. He orders the appraisal that day. He's already seen Kevin's numbers. We're good.
And is that lender like a Pinnacle, or is it a mortgage broker?
Me personally, I do most of my stuff with First Bank here, but it is commercial. It's not residential. It is commercial, and there's a lot of good commercial lenders here. Well,
Ryan, thanks for doing this. I appreciate your time. Jane got part of my question answered. First Bank is one go-to lender for you.
Yeah, and Pinnacle is another. In fact, Kmo, is that who you do most of your stuff with?
Not anymore.
Oh, okay.
I still have a couple loans with Pinnacle, but there's a good amount.
Studio, I've done deals with. Bancorp South, I've done deals. There's a lot of them
that are developer friendly.
Yeah, and generally speaking, for investors, you're trying to stay small and local or regional. I mean, First Bank I think is regional. Like they've got some stuff outside of Nashville, but it's So that is a general rule of thumb, and a lot of times they're a little more nimble. The smaller banks. All right, rock and roll. That's it. Was this valuable to you guys? Was this helpful? Before I go to like my last two slides, are there any lingering questions?
So I have a couple. I have a couple questions. One, like the office and how we prospect in the office every day. So I was wondering, like, which office is yours that we could kind of bring these deals to? Like, where are you going to be set up at? That we can bring these deals to.
My cell phone.
What's that?
My cell phone.
Your cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So that I appreciate that, and shameful plug, shameless plug, not shameful. I am on this list of builders and developers. You want to bring these deals to somebody and list the back end? Please put me as your first speed dial number. I do not want to list my builds. I don't want to do that. It's not my passion. I can do it. Every time I find myself spending my time on that, I'm frustrated because I want to be putting deals together. So I will be thrilled to have you guys list them if you can bring me projects where the numbers work. I don't keep an office here at the Keller office right now. I live too far away, but any of you can have my cell phone number for that purpose for sure. Was that it, Justin?
Well, the second one you kind of answered. Who's listing your properties? That doesn't bring them to you. And what is that interview process like?
So far, I have listed them, but yeah. So it's interesting you said that. I have started running my pro formas, even if nobody brought it to me, with a listing commission because I am phasing out of that. To be clear, I really, really loved working as an agent. It is just not my calling, and it's not what I'm supposed to do for the next 30 years. This is. So I'm phasing myself out of that task. So I don't know.
I'd love to know that.
Good question.
Brian, what is your cell phone number? So when I find that deal, I can call you.
My cell phone number is 615-419-9198. And absolutely call me with deals. I can get you all that pro forma. I mean, it's not fancy. You saw it. It's like 8 lines, and the bottom 3 you can ignore. So, but any other questions? Yeah.
So on the step one, when you're having the feeler call with when you're having the feeler call with your investors, if
Yeah.
there's somebody who they don't necessarily know you personally, but like a friend of a friend, and they want you to send them something to entice them to come to a sit down meeting with you, do you have some kind of a one sheet or anything that can quickly explain what this looks like?
I do.
As a precursor?
Yeah. So, okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to selfishly parlay that into my 30-second pitch, and you guys can ignore it. This little course that I created, and I will answer your question anyway, but in the course that I created, I have recordings of those phone calls. I have a one sheet that I do send out. I've got the pro forma included, like all that stuff. So if you really for real want to go in deep and do this for real, that really is the place where you're going to get the most information, because I'm not going to be here all day. But I do have a one sheet that I share with people, and typically the one sheet usually is for people who are more on board, and it outlines like, okay, here's what to expect, here's an outline of the process, here's your responsibilities versus my responsibilities. The one sheet was born when there were miscommunications or things I forgot to tell people, and lo and behold, you find out the hard way and you go, dang, I need a one sheet. So, but before that, usually what it looks like is, let me send you the latest deal. I'm going to send you the pro forma for the latest deal I did. Usually I will try to do one that's actually closed, so it's not, here's what I think is going to happen. Here's the last one that closed. Here's the actual numbers we made. And if that looks cool to you, here's the real timeline. We actually did it in 11 months or 12 months or whatever. That's usually what, if I'm just trying to entice someone to meet, that's usually what I'm sharing with them. The one sheet is, once they've sort of bought in, it's like, here's everything you need to know, and I'll call you with the deal soon.
Is the one sheet in the course?
Girl, you know it is.
Is there, and then there's like a recent example of a deal you've done in the course as well?
Yeah, there's a bunch. There's videos of me comping properties. There's videos of me doing due diligence, evaluating deals. All that's in there.
I had one more question.
Yeah.
Since your license is still in our office, I was wondering how we might be able to get a list of those 50 upcoming listings that you have coming in the next 12 months.
Okay, so
Facebook page.
So there's some relevance to that.
Do it, Ryan. Don't leave money on the table.
I'm not. I can't. Here's the deal. I pre-listed and pre-sold 4 or 5 houses over the last 6 months, and it was miserable. Not just because I could have sold them for a lot more, and I could have, and I'm talking, guys, I could have made $100,000 more for me personally, my split, by not pre-selling those. So that's the first reason I'm not willing to do it. But the second reason is the supply chain is worse than you're even hearing. Supplies are awful, labor is awful, and every single one that I pre-sold, we missed by 3 months. And they were on a couple of them because they did get that access. And how pissed were your clients? It was frustrating. And this is with a pretty good builder. This guy's not a fly-by-night idiot. He's good. But it is so difficult to get things done quickly right now. Just to illustrate the point, my first 2 years with this same builder, we closed stuff. Almost every single thing we did was under a year. And I don't know what we ended up at, 15 months or something. I mean, it was bad. So I made a ton less money. I was on the phone getting griped at every day. And basically made myself look bad. So it's not just a selfish, I want every dime. That sucked, and I'm not doing it again.
Maybe a week before.
So that is going to happen. I'm going to pre-sell them when we basically get to blue tape walkthrough. But these I pre-sold what I thought was 3 months out. Ended up being 6 months out with a bunch of angry people. And I paid for things out of pocket that I shouldn't have had to pay for instead of making $40,000 more. I'm not doing it.
When you're seeking, say, investors for a project by project basis, seed money, what would you say the minimum seed money they would need is?
50, probably.
50?
Yeah, something like that. I will move. So for me personally, and now we're getting into not general information that's helpful in the class setting probably, but for me personally, I'm close enough to doing this fund that let's say 4 or 5 deals that I do between now and launching the fund probably are all going to go to people that are already waiting Man, that's what's amazing, guys. That is what's beautiful. I don't say this to brag or anything. I've got a freaking waiting list of investors, people begging me to do deals. I don't have enough deals, and I don't have enough manpower to build them. When you, to that other slide with the ROI and the character, the money part becomes the easy part. Like, people are ready to go. That part is easy. So that doesn't help you, but the answer is probably 50. And I think I've got a whiteboard that basically helps me remember who to call next. And the truth is, I think it's been probably 2 years since I called somebody and they didn't do the deal at this point. But if you guys are developing yourselves, I mean, there's so many, that part of the process is wide open. You can do it so many different ways. That's what I think is fun about it. There's a lot of creativity to it. We good? Anything else?
Anything else, Rachel?
We're cool? Let me make sure. So if you guys do want the course, it literally is live as of last night. I finally published the site. It's dealarchitect.org. It's half off for Keller Williams. Just put in KWMC into the thing. And I forgot about this. So this is the big bonus. If you guys, this is a new course. This is a new venture for me. Admittedly, I'm nervous and excited about it. And for anybody who decides to invest their money into that and trust me with that, I will do a one-on-one Zoom with you to answer any questions. I mean, go through the course and write down every question or every dumb thing that doesn't make sense, and we'll do a one-on-one Zoom. This is for anybody basically this week from Keller specifically who decides to do that. I'm not doing that on the website or anything. It's just for the people in this room. So
this week being the remaining 3 days of the week, or
I actually think that I had to set the coupon code. I think it actually goes to next Thursday. Yeah. Or, I mean, no, till tomorrow.
Yes. Today only.
Yeah. So one more like shameless self-promotion just for fun. There's nothing for sale here. I am documenting the building of this company on YouTube now, and I've got a channel called Brian Bandas Builds a Business, and it's just me trying to build this from 0 houses to how do I turn it into a $10 million a year company. I don't know the answer to that yet. It's probably a 5 to 10 year process, but I'm gonna figure it out, and it's on this YouTube channel if y'all want to watch it.
Say that again.
Brian Bandas Builds a Business. Yeah. There you go. Thank you guys and everybody on Zoom. Thank you.
Yeah.